If you're looking for the experience of a delicious cocktail, but without the effects of alcohol, try Kensho Cocktails by Reserve. These ready-to-drink beverages are made with premium botanicals and natural citruses and spices, giving them the flavor and finish of high-end mixology. Garnish with limes, cherries, or raspberries to complete a bold and sophisticated cocktail, all without the accompanying hangover. Go to rsrvcollective.com and use promo code CinemaVino, and you'll receive 30% off everything on that purchase. It's the biggest discount you can get, and it's exclusive to our promo code. Once again, that's rsrvcollective.com, promo code CinemaVino. Back to Cinema Vino. It's good to have you guys here with us. Our trilogy series continues.
Are we here with you right now?
We're here. We're here in spirit. We're here in body. We're here in soul. We're continuing our Indiana Jones series with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And we're drinking a little Viognier to go with it. And here's what I'm thinking for the Viognier. So obviously they show some off the beaten path Indian cuisine in this movie, but as a general rule, as the bulk of this movie takes place in India, if you want to do some Indian food, something kind of spicy, Viognier would be a good choice to go along with it.
It felt like a weird characterization of Indian food.
It was not the most flattering.
No.
And I think the movie caught some flack for that at the time of its release. For its depiction of Indian culture in general was not taken well by the Indian government. So that's one reason why.
I could see them taking umbrage with it.
Yeah.
Umbrage.
It's one reason why this movie was filmed in Sri Lanka instead of India. So, yeah. But yeah, if you guys out there are going to do a little bit of Indian food to go with this movie as it takes place in India, Viognier would be an excellent choice to go with it. This is the Comtesse Marion. This is a French Viognier for about $20-ish.
Do you have a favorite Indian dish?
I don't really eat a lot of Indian food. I mean, are you a big fan?
I like it a lot. Yeah.
What's your go-to?
Chicken tikka is, a staple.
Yeah.
I like a saag paneer. It's like a creamed spinach with cheese.
Yeah.
Let's see. Navratan korma. I like a navratan korma. There's like a really good chickpea dish that I really like.
Yeah.
Do you eat Indian food?
I like chickpea on my face.
So the food.
It's usually a little tomato based, a little chickeny. Get some bread in there, some naan. Todd, didn't you ever know what the difference is between a chickpea and a garbanzo bean?
Don't embolden him.
Ever had a garbanzo bean on my face?
Yeah. So the food. So it's pretty spicy. Is it just feel like is it zesty? Is it?
Yeah, it's got some heat to it.
So this would be this is an acidic, very fruit forward.
I just feel your disappointment.
It was more bewilderment. Like literally, if my head is like a computer monitor in here, there's like a little hourglass, one of these kind of things right now. Like,
clearly, Sean had heard that joke.
Ram just maxed out.
Oh, the little man and the head's like hitting the buttons, like nothing's happening. It's just like we're close to the blue screen right now. We're getting real close to just a screen of blue text.
Force restart real quick. We'll be right back.
My face is warm. So I'm sure this is delicious.
It's a great wine. But yeah, it's a nice, refreshing, and that has some nice bright acidity to it. It's easy drinking. And so, yeah, it offsets spicy food. I mean, if you're doing Chinese food, if you're doing any kind of spicy food, Viognier is a really good choice to go with it. So this is a great,
I love a spicy food.
Yeah.
Love a hot lasagna.
And to me, spicy food is one of those great situations where it's really enhanced by wine. You can get something like this to kind of offset the flavor of it, to kind of balance it out with something kind of refreshing and lightly sweet.
Could do a Thai food?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. This would be great with Thai food. And yeah, that nice acidity again just helps bring everything into balance. It's a good example of how wine can make good food better. So yeah, if you're having anything spicy, try Viognier.
Enhance.
And this is
the Comtesse Marion?
Comtesse Marion. So, what
was the strength?
12-ish%, probably 12.5.
13.
Oh, we got a 13?
Yeah. So a little background about
13%.
chickpea on my face. A little background on this film. Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom.
Spielberg returns to direct.
Trav's got the non sequiturs. So this was released May 23rd, 1984. Grossed $333 million against a $30 million budget. This was the highest grossing film of 1984.
Did it take over as highest grossing of all time?
No, it did not. I think all 3 Star Wars movies outgrossed it. This was definitely in the top 10 when it was released, but it was not anywhere near as high as I think.
I thought one of the Indiana Joneses took over at one point.
No, Raiders was in the top 5 when it was released.
Raiders.
But I believe Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back were higher. So, Spielberg returns to direct. You're right. From a story by George Lucas. Screenplay was written by the husband-wife team of William Hike and Gloria Katz, who would before
I don't care for them.
before they would write American Graffiti for Lucas, and then later on they'd come back and write Howard the Duck. So you got that. Technically, this is a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Not a lot of people realize it.
Yeah, 1935.
Yeah, this story.
And Raiders is 36.
Uh-huh.
I looked it up.
This story takes place a year before.
And Last Crusade is what, 39?
38, 39, somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay.
Lucas Spielberg wanted to deviate as much away from Raiders as they possibly could. And so instead of the Nazis, we get the thuggy cult. We get, instead of the more like resourceful, capable Marion, we get the spoiled and very whiny Willie Scott as love interest. Raiders is more like, it was brighter, it was outdoors, it was more like fun, and with a story that kind of kept rolling along. It was almost like a mobile, like it was a rolling chase scene.
Yeah, they kept going place to place.
Yeah. This one's more locked into one location.
Unlike the first movie that literally had a rolling chase scene.
Yeah. Yeah. This one's locked into one locale. This one has much, much darker subject matter, including a very graphic scene of human sacrifice, child enslavement, and torture. So, Spielberg would later attribute the shift in tone to the fact that both he and Lucas were going through a divorce at the time they were coming up with the story. Spielberg would later marry Kate Capshaw, who plays Willie. Another fun fact, this movie, along with the Steven Spielberg produced Gremlins, would cause the MPAA to create the PG-13 rating.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It didn't exist before this movie?
No, this was PG. So, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So then the MPAA was,
they were like, you know what? This isn't quite a kid's movie, but it's not R.
Yeah.
We need something in between.
There is a common argument that had Spielberg and Lucas not been the people behind it, that it might have been rated R. That the scene with the heart ripped out, still beating.
Yeah, but the guy's, he healed.
He heals. Yeah.
It popped back.
It comes back.
But then he gets burned alive in a
Well,
yeah, but he wanted to. He was asking for it.
It was Consensual Magma. Yeah. Consensual Magma is a band name.
That's a great band name. Hell yeah. You guys hear the new solo from Consensual Magma?
Magma?
Holy shit, that shit ripped.
Yeah, man.
You hear their first album, the Hephaestions?
This film has Indy coming to the aid of a remote Indian village in an attempt to locate their sacred rock. Indy suspects the rock may be one of the sacred Sankara stones, and it may have fallen into the hands of the mysterious and ruthless Thuggee cult, which has captured the nearby palace of a Maharaja. Along with Indy for the ride is Short Round, played by future Oscar winner Ke Huy Quan, and Willie Scott, who is a very loud lounge singer. So,
did it look like a smooth river stone? 3 marks across it? Of course, I knew it.
It's like, thank you, Mary Sue.
That must be one of the Sankara stones.
So, same question as before for the previous movie. When did you first see this movie? What was your impression of it then? What's your impression of it now? Travi, we'll start with you. This
was my favorite of the movies, and the one I saw the most, because I thought it was awesome that the kid, Zima, was the Maharaja, was like the prince or whatever.
You were like, I could be king.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I liked that, yeah, they gave Indiana like a little Robin sidekick, little kid. Also, all the gross out humor, like all the bugs and the insects and the
monkey brains.
Yeah, the monkey brains and the eyeball soup. Oh. And just all that stuff was right up my alley as a kid. In fact, we had a book in the library in elementary school that I checked out just so I could see the guy holding the flaming heart. I was like, oh, that's awesome, but it doesn't show it ripping him out. But yeah, that also gave me nightmares as a kid.
How old were you?
Shit, I don't know. This was a 84?
So you ballpark it.
So I was maybe 5, 6 when I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, it was another one of those that my dad recorded off of HBO.
Yeah.
So it was in the rotation.
It was a blank VHS that had something scrawled on the side and scratched out and something else.
Absolutely. And so we had Temple of Doom and we had Raiders, but I think I always watched Temple because it was my favorite of the two. I didn't love seeing the chains around the elephants. I'm like, oh, that's, the beast of burden type deal. I was like, they probably weren't treated as well back in the 80s. They didn't need.
That was the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah. At least it wasn't the 60s.
That's true. Yeah, I loved that he had the kid with him, but how really dangerous is the Black Death or whatever if they can force Indiana to drink this evil blood, turn him into one of their slaves, and then all it takes is all right, I singed your abdomen with a flame, and I was like, I love you, you're my best friend. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
If only other people had friends that would, hold a flame up to them.
Yeah.
They don't. No one else has friends.
No. Yeah.
Just Indy.
All it takes is a Zippo ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the whole, you're right. It didn't quite make sense. The very beginning, with the whole musical number went a little bit long. I was like, I need more. The original, we are in the jungle and we are already dungeon delving and stuff. But it's a little crazy that they just jump out of a plane onto. It's not.
Don't worry about it.
It's not as crazy as stepping into a refrigerator and surviving a nuclear blast.
They don't speak of such things.
Honestly, it's not that much crazier.
Yeah, well, I mean, not as crazy.
I watched that scene and I was like, you know what? No,
they just show up. They're in the Himalayas or whatever, and then now suddenly they're walking up and they're like, oh, who's this monk shaman guy? All right, we should go this way. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
They just stumble into
they really
the
yada from oh, we're in Nepal to, oh, we're in South India.
Yeah. Yeah. We get one little scene of the history and geography of the plane flying over.
Yeah.
And I missed more of that from Raiders. I liked all of the location hopping. And I did like the villain in this because he had a super cool little headdress with little horns.
Yeah.
But we only really know his name from the subtitles, Mola.
Ram.
What was that?
Mola.
Ram.
But we don't get any kind of story of his, the backstory or how he showed up here or how he decided, all right, that kid, make him the Maharaja.
It's a cult.
We don't know if we
show up.
Yeah.
We don't know if the Maharaja existed first, and then Mola Ram was like, all right, let's get this kid to be make him drink the black blood, and now he's our slave, or, which I need to know if the chicken came before the egg.
Yeah.
That's what I need. I loved all of the crazy, insects that they were stepping on. And that also gave me nightmares of creatures crawling all over me. Not awesome.
Yeah.
But, overall, I loved it. Not as great now though.
Yeah.
I would give it
a
7.
So what would young Travis have given it?
I mean, young Travis would give it a 9.
Yeah. And so modern Travis says 7.
7. I mean, it's got the nostalgia for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I can easily tell it is the worst of the trilogy that never had any more movies past 3.
Yes. So Sean, now you won't have the same nostalgia. So I'm curious your opinion.
I mean, I watched this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how old I was when I watched it. God, I don't know when I first watched it. I mean, it was definitely a movie that was around, and I definitely saw it because I remember the ripping the heart out and holding it up, and all the Kalima and yada yada yada. But yeah, no, I agree. I think as a kid, I thought those were the coolest aspects. You got your bugs, you got a kid who honestly acts as a little insert into it. You know, as a kid, you're like, oh, I could be Short Round running around with Indy doing all this cool stuff. And then they have a whole scene where it's like you're basically on a roller coaster. It's like, okay, they are designing something for Universal Studios to just do a roller coaster off of this. You can see the skulls just like popping out like, you know, mid roller coaster ride. That's all it was. And which to a kid is great. You know, all this it's a kid's movie. And I think George Lucas and Steven Spielberg really kind of capture that vibe in the 80s. Between this and Gremlins and, you know, everything else they're doing, like they kind of fall into like the kids movie vibe.
Yeah.
And, you know, this Joan even came down and she was like, are you watching Goonies?
Yeah.
And I was like,
same actor.
No, I know. Yeah. Ke Kwan is in Goonies as well. And he's what's his name? Data. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's a fun movie. It's a fun romp. I think watching it now, like you said, I think it's around a 7-ish. I think it's a safe 7.
Dan Aykroyd at the beginning of it, and I never noticed that.
As the British,
as the guy walking him to the plane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't never quite show his face. I was like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. Classic. What a guy.
Yeah. He had a good year between this and Ghostbusters.
And the settings, like the Kali Ma, the big, I love that set piece.
Yeah.
Great
it's
set
so
piece.
cool.
Well, and this feels like a big, again, I've said it before, Spielberg does a lot of homages to old school Hollywood. Like, I thought even the intro scene, like you said, went on too long.
Yeah.
But it very much felt like the old school Hollywood, like, show choir. Like, it was a chorus line. Like, it was
Busby Berkeley, like musicals.
Yeah. It was like the old school musicals of like having a musical number where you have like a star come out after like a bunch of dancers do a chorus line and do a bunch of splits. And then, I don't know.
Ironically, Big Lebowski tapped into that same source for its musical number,
but in a more self-aware way.
Yeah.
Whereas Spielberg, I feel like, was doing it because Spielberg wanted to do it. He wanted an excuse to do it.
Valentine, yeah. Well, it's like the Coen brothers do everything ironically, everything with irony. The Spielberg is more like a love letter.
Yeah, Spielberg, it's like, he's like, I've always wanted to do this.
Yeah.
I can figure out a way to fit it into this movie.
He's a movie dork.
Yeah, he is a movie dork. And that's, it's a double-edged sword that he's a movie dork, because it's really obvious now going back and watching his movies after watching Fabelmans and seeing like him talking about his love for all these different movies. And now I watch this, I'm like, okay, he's just trying to find a way to fit this different trope into it.
And did Fabelmans taint your opinion of him?
Kinda. Yeah.
I get that vibe.
Yeah. I mean, and it's honestly, I liked Fabelmans. I feel like it gave me a new appreciation for Spielberg, but it also made me view his movies in a different light, where now I'm seeing it through the light of, okay, you're a freaking movie nerd.
Yeah.
Just trying to find an excuse to do movie stuff.
But they say don't meet your heroes.
I guess. Yeah.
I've been looking at some of the old like Dungeons and Dragons books, and I'm like, there's no way they weren't influenced somewhat by Dungeons and Dragons. But there's a cover for their player's handbook from 1978. I was looking at the year it came out, and I'm not saying that like no other big crazy idol that's had like sacrifices in front of it, but as soon as I saw that, I'm like, of course that existed around. Like, I wonder if they're like D&D nerds at all.
Yeah.
I have seen George Lucas. He is 100% a D&D nerd.
Yeah.
That man is a nerd
to this day.
Of course.
But
there's the idol cover of the player's handbook from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons that just reminded me.
Is that first edition? That 1E?
Yes. Well, yeah, the Advanced. That's a long answer for a short podcast.
Yeah, let's keep that can of worms closed.
It's the first Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
7.
So is that young Sean, old Sean?
Kid me, I think, would probably give it like an 8. I wasn't obsessed with this movie as a kid.
Yeah.
I think it kind of was before my time. And then by the time I was old enough to appreciate it, I was on to other stuff. I was kind of on a different wavelength at the time.
Baywatch.
Well, and I was like I said,
Baywatch Nights.
I was big into James Bond at that age, when I was like 6 to 8-ish, that range. And so Sean Connery was a big deal, which is why the next movie, I think I resonated with more as a kid because I was like,
Same.
James Bond.
Yeah. Same. Definitely. We'll get to that with the next movie, but yeah, so I'm there with you. I did not love this movie when it came out because I saw Last Crusade first. That's the very first Indiana Jones movie I saw.
Oh.
And so
Weirdo.
Yeah. I loved Last Crusade the first time I saw it. And so to me, I saw this one after that and it was a disappointment compared to Last Crusade. It just wasn't as much fun, I thought.
I don't know that I would rate Raiders above this one, though. I think I might put Raiders below and then this one just above it and then put Last Crusade as the strongest of the three.
Yeah.
So every podcast is somebody's first. So somebody might not see the Last Crusade one. So just in case they don't, will you say suddenly remembered my Charlemagne?
I suddenly remembered my Charlemain.
Okay.
There's a bunch of those lines in that movie. There's like...
Save them for next episode. I just wanted one here.
Yes. Yeah, tune in next week for more.
Tune in
for more Sean Connery quotes.
We're gonna do so many quotes.
I would say kid me would have given this a 7, and I think that adult me is about a 5.5.
How old were you when you saw it as a kid?
It's difficult to go back to that, like you say. It's tough to say.
Yeah,
10-ish, somewhere between 8 and 10.
Sean Connery plays tennis.
He's quite the handicap.
That's golf.
Well,
Boo.
Says you. So, I mean, to me, it was like, especially now, I watch everything through the lens of a parent, and it's like, I told Joe this and she reacted the same way, my wife. It's like, how in the world did I watch this as an 8 or 9-year-old not wake up screaming every night from
yeah.
I mean, it's like hearts getting ripped out, like children being whipped and enslaved. It's like, this is a dark movie. And it was like, I would definitely not show this to my 5-year-old yet.
Weird kid in like a turban 3 sizes too big, like with a little doll.
Voodoo doll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People drinking poison. And
I like that the voodoo doll had a hat so you knew who it was. They're like, let's give this voodoo doll a hat.
Could you take the hat off and would the hat on him have like just...
And why would you not get a little miniature bullwhip to whip him with?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, people getting eaten by crocodiles and all kinds of stuff, so it was definitely, to me, like you said, it's the weakest of the three. It's the most disappointing of the three.
I like that we always have to have like an uber baddie for him to get punched around by.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Big strong man.
Yeah. Big strong man.
Yeah.
Just smacks him around.
Yeah. I think that in this movie, that guy is the same guy in Raiders who has the sword that gets shot. It's the same actor.
No, really?
Does the crazy sword play and then he just shoots him.
Watch, there can't be.
That's the same actor.
Huge guy in this one?
I believe it's the same actor. You can look this up, but I believe it's the same guy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I can't believe they wouldn't have shown his arms in the first one.
Yeah.
We'll get our interns on it.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look.
But yeah, 7.0 as a kid, 5.5 as an adult.
That's fair.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. So, and it helped to be able.
Was there one aspect to it that really disappointed you?
Just the mid section of the movie and how like dark and grim it got. It picks up the first like 15 or 20 minutes to me are vintage Indiana Jones of like him escaping Shanghai on the rolling gong and like, the plane that's run out of fuel that they, that's like the classic, like Spielberg and Lucas got in this trying to make their own brand of James Bond. This has that kind of feel, but in the 30s, kind of World War II era Bond.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And that whole setup is a lot of fun. And by the time you get to the end with the roller coasters and stuff and the bridge, it gets kind of some of that flavor back. But the whole midsection, it's slow, it's dark.
Languishes.
It bogs down a lot. Whereas a movie like Raiders it cranks through the whole way. There's a lot of story, a lot of action.
It has momentum.
Same thing with Last Crusade. Last Crusade never really, to me, lags in momentum.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of action beats. It's a lot of fun. And to me, this is missing some of that. It's more sluggish.
Yeah.
So that's just me. But yeah, tune in next time for Last Crusade. It's been another episode of Cinema Vino. We thank you guys a whole lot. We got Sean Jordan.
Hi.
We got T-Bud.
I guess bye.
Brabs Tud.
It's your boy.
It's never goodbye. It's always au revoir.
As you wish.
It's pronounced Viognier?
Viognier.
No ticket.
Viognier.
And it's funny because they spoofed that in Bluey. So my son's a big fan of Bluey. And there's a scene where they mimic riding a little train around their house. And at one point, Bluey doesn't have a ticket and the dad throws her under a pile of laundry and is like, no ticket. So they've spoofed multiple movies, including Total Recall.
Honestly, Bluey is legit.
With 3 titties on Bluey?
No.
The mom on Bluey
Who
has
had-
3 nipples.
Oh, God, what's her name? Chico. Fuck. What's the mom's name on Bluey?
Chili.
Chili. Fuck.
And I was, whatever, how many years old when I figured out that the reason why her name is Chili, she's a dog, so she's Chili
Dog.
Yeah.
Mm.
So there you go.
Sucking down, chili dogs.
Chili, Bingo, Bluey, and
Bandit.
Bandit. All right.
Bandit.
Yeah. So, that's a whole separate pod.
I had a friend who had a dog named Bandit.
Is it really?
It's a good dog name.
Yeah, it is.
Bandit.
But great movies. Drunker.
Should we start a Bluey pod?
Oh, I totally could. I've seen it 4 or 5 times at least all the way through.
Bye, guys.
I'll see you guys next time.
A long goodbye.